Gravitas, co-presented by Skoda. Kushak, choose what really matters.
The building behind me is the symbol of America's power, the White House, the home of the US president. But do you know who built it? Slaves. In fact, most of the famous buildings in Washington were built by slaves. It's an undeniable part of American history, like these pictures, white men whipping slaves. Not only was it legal, it was encouraged. The whip was the symbol of America's bigotry, of racism and white supremacy, and now that symbol is back. Let me show you some pictures. These are not from the last century or from a medieval drama. They are from the Texas border on Monday. These men on horseback are US Border Patrol. The people they're herding are migrants. And I say herding on purpose because there is no other way to describe what they're doing. The border troops are carrying whips. They're beating up migrants and pushing them back into the river. These are Haitian migrants. Thousands of them have amassed at the US border. They have undertaken a long and dangerous journey. They've walked hundreds of kilometers. They've crossed rivers, all in search of the American dream. This is their temporary refuge. A massive bridge in Del Rio, Texas. At one point, 12,000 people were living here. There are children, there are pregnant women. They pitched their tents and awaited their turn, but the US had other plans. They shut the border and began deporting the migrants. Talk about cruelty. These people were fleeing poverty and violence back home. They are desperate. They were desperate enough to set out on foot. And what does the US do? Send them back to the same living hell.
I feel disappointed because we crossed over to the US and it wasn't what we expected. They were very mean to us. Just imagine, they treated us like we were trash. They didn't give us food, water, there were no doctors, nothing. A lot of children, pregnant women. Things are really hard for us.
I have 2 children. I have been hungry for 4 days with children. And now I have left the United States to find food in Mexico. People in the United States don't give us anything, just water. Since children only receive water, children are going hungry. We are out in the open.
No food, no water, no doctors, just plain cruelty. That's what these migrants got from America. They were beaten with whips and deported against their will. Does the US government have a response? Here's what Vice President Kamala Harris said.
What I saw depicted about those individuals on horseback treating human beings the way they were is horrible. And I fully support what is happening right now, which is a thorough investigation into exactly what is going on there. But human beings should never be treated that way. And I'm deeply troubled about it.
The Vice President is quote-unquote deeply troubled. How unfortunate. If only she had the power to do something about it. America is the richest country in the world. It can help these people, but Joe Biden chooses not to. What's worse, he is using a Trump-era policy to deport these migrants. Donald Trump's policy permits the US to detain and deport migrants, no questions asked, and no scope for asylum requests. Now, Joe Biden is using that very same policy, denying these migrants a fair chance, and the same Biden was lecturing the world on human rights yesterday. Listen to this.
As we pursue diplomacy across the board, the United States will champion the democratic values that go to the very heart of who we are as a nation and a people. Freedom, equality, opportunity, and a belief in the universal rights of all people. It's stamped into our DNA as a nation.
Hollow words from the president. He talks about opportunity, yet shuts the border. He talks about universal rights, yet his border troops are whipping migrants. Democracy may be in America's DNA, but so is cruelty and racism. Immigration is a touchy subject here. Some US politicians say it's not their problem. Well, they're wrong. It is their problem. These migrants are not on a picnic. They're fleeing political instability and natural disaster, and America is directly responsible for both. For decades, the CIA toppled regimes in Central America, as a result of which these countries are poor and unstable. They cannot spend billions to recover from cyclones and tsunamis like the US. And by the way, that is climate change, another gift from the West. The migrant crisis undermines every single commitment made by Joe Biden. He wants a seat at the UN Human Rights Council, but these deportations are a violation of international law. Once again, America's words and actions are miles apart. But who will question the mighty Americans? Apparently, power is an excuse for abuse. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.
Gravitas, co-presented by Skoda. Kushaq, choose what really matters.